Judy Johnson, the current president of the Collaborative Law Institute of Minnesota, and I am a collaborative team divorce attorney. I am here today with two very special people. One is Jennifer Morris, who is the founder of Daisy Camp and is well known in Minnesota as really a premier educator for normal people, ordinary people, about divorce and what they need to know to get the most out of the process. And then also with Käri McGuire, who is well known within the collaborative community as someone who has gotten a lot out of us as a client and really put us through our paces. And she and her family really got some of our best work out of us. And so she's here today to give advice to people who might be thinking about trying collaborative team divorce for a transition in their family. And we are thrilled to have her. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Käri, it's so fun to talk to you, and you make it fun to talk to you. But I think we need to start out today by asking you to think back to a time that maybe wasn't as great in your life. I'm sure there are people that are going to be watching us today that are thinking, wow, I'm in a place in my life where I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get out of something that's really, really tough for me. Before you even found us, there was a lot going on in your life that wasn't good. Can I ask you to think back on that and tell us a little bit about what that time of your life was like?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm grateful to be here. Many years later, it's been a long time. Thinking back to that, it was 2008 when I started going through the divorce, and that carried through 2009. And everybody knows what was going on in 2008 and 2009. On top of all of the strife that I had in my own personal life,
the mortgage and real estate collapse.
It was terrible. So I was scared. At the time, I had an infant and a 2.5-year-old child. Things were really tough, but I knew at that moment, or I came to a decision that I absolutely had to move forward and find a way out. Excuse me. And I didn't really know where to go or who to even tap into. I just knew I had to do something. I had never heard of collaborative divorce, and it was through a mutual friend that we heard about collaborative divorce. Because
I'm not surprised. We love what we do. We love each other. We love working together. We're not very good at marketing. We don't really enjoy promoting ourselves, but we love what we do. So it's remarkable that you found us.
Yeah, I'll tell you more about it, but I am so grateful that I did find you, and the collaborative practice, the collaborative process. I think it was kind of in its infancy stages at the time, but it was such a better experience in the end when I think back all those years. Yeah.
Do you remember why you decided to, what helped you make the decision to try working with a collaborative team?
The biggest decision for me was really about my kids, and I really did not. I didn't have a lot of experience with divorce, and all of the stories that we had heard. Everyone has a story about divorce and how terrible it is going through the court system and having a judge tell you how you're going to raise your kids, or the settlement that you are going to come up with. And I really thought, as hard as it was at the time with our personal dynamics between myself and my ex-husband, I needed to get through a better process for my kids and keep them the center of it, and figuring out how we're going to raise them together. Yeah.
So in collaborative practice, we have people who are CDFAs, Certified Divorce Financial Analysts, that work with the team. And I know that you worked with one of our financial specialists. Mm-hmm. And was that particularly helpful to you?
Absolutely. At the advice of my attorney and my ex-husband's attorney, we did meet with a financial professional who I had no clue at the time that there was even such a person that existed, or that kind of role. And so I remember that day very clearly. It's a little foggy, but I do remember sitting down with her and going through our balance sheet. Everything was still kind of a blur because when you're in the middle of all of this, you don't know which end is up. But we went through the balance sheet. And then the piece that really stuck with me above all things was the budget, because I had no clue how I was going to go on my own and be able to afford my car payment, rent, feeding my kids, daycare, diapers, all of those things that I had in my budget. And doing that budget work honestly set me free. I always like to say that it was the thing I hung on to even for years after the divorce was finalized. I kind of lived by that budget, and it kept me on track and kept me above water. And even to this day, I love budgets. I really do. I try to live by them because it made so much sense at the time. But in the middle of the hardest time of my life, that was the one thing I could really focus on, and it kept me above water. Yeah.
A lot of people think that they have to couples think that they have to be able to reach agreement on things before they start with us, that collaborative practice is something for cases that are easy without a lot of conflict. But I think that you found something different in your practice and with us.
Yeah. We were not of that camp. We were of the camp of relatively high conflict. I'm surprised we were married as long as we were. So, and had 2 kids. I can laugh about it today, but it's honestly, I was nervous that we wouldn't make it through the collaborative process, but I hung on to it so much that I just really did not want to go down the fighting route in the court process. And honestly, the attorneys, with the kind of training and the knowledge that they had about collaborative and how to work with couples, even with higher conflict and disagreements and personality differences, they worked magic for us in keeping us focused on what was the important part of the process and not getting into the weeds about this or that, the things that, kept coming up. So honestly, it kind of kept going back to the kids and going back to moving through this process and being done with it. Yeah.
I know a lot of couples have a hard time understanding why in collaborative practice we really focus on planning down to the dollar. Could you speak to that a little bit about why that was important for you and your family? And I think that kind of is linked to what you already shared with us today. But tell us a little bit more about why that was important for you to really plan down to the dollar on your cash flow. Sometimes we call that coming up with a sustainable cash flow. And, to us, it's connected to really solid future planning. But tell us a little bit more about how that worked for you.
At the time that I was going through the divorce, obviously there's costs associated with divorce, and it seemed like things were piling up. And at the time, neither of us had very robust incomes, and being able to go from one household to 2 separate budgets, to having to support 2 household payments, things like that. It really had to go down to the dollar to really understand, am I going to make it every single month with the things that I have in front of me? So I was really clearly able to understand how much can I afford for rent, because I obviously can't give up my car, can't give up my kids, those kinds of things. I have to feed my family. So it really coming down to that dollar amount was really important. And even through that process, as hard as I thought it was going to be, and I felt like I was flailing for a while, I had extra money left over that gave me a little bit of breathing room and made me feel like, I can take my kids out for ice cream, or I can do something special for them. I think it's so important, especially if you have more limited resources at the time. Yeah.
Your life went through a big change, a professional change also, as a result of working with us, and we'll come back to that. But we've got a couple of other questions to ask, and I'm wondering, Jennifer, I know you had some great questions to ask Käri, particularly about, finding confidence in the process to get the most out of us, basically. Go ahead and tell me what you were wanting to ask, Käri.
One of my questions is, when you take time to reflect on your story, what's the reminder that you would like to share with other people considering, contemplating, or in the middle of divorce and are having a hard time? You're in such crossroads, and you feel like you're getting advice from so many people. When getting divorced, it doesn't take a village. It just takes a group of people that really care about you. And I always tell people, you don't have to be good at divorce. You just need good professionals to get you through it.
You hit the nail on the head with that one. It truly is the reminder for me, especially when I talk to other people about not only collaborative divorce, but just like approaching it in general and trying to figure out what direction to go, is there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You cannot see it. I promise you cannot see it at the beginning, but there is. There truly is. And I am a pretty independent person, and I had to surrender and ask for help. And I really had to lean on the professionals that were, and trust that they were going to guide us. And that was one thing, your brain does not work when you're going through divorce. Mm-hmm. Everything is clouded. And the professionals that we worked with literally walked us through every single step, almost like an outline. This is what we're going to do now. This is what we're going to do next. It was truly outlined, and there were times where I'm like, I have no idea what we just talked about 5 minutes ago. And they would help you through that. So you kind of have to just find a person that resonates with you, work with them, and lean on them. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I always keep telling people who talk about it, because they can't see it. And things do get better. They really do.
Like we always say at Daisy Camp, you're high emotion, low information, and you're making life decisions, especially for children. Mm-hmm. This is a really difficult place to be. We need to switch it up. So
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I always say there's not a light at the end of the tunnel, because sometimes that seems really far away. But if you're on a dark gravel road in the middle of the country and your headlights only shine from here to 10 feet, and then you get there, and then they shine another 10 feet, and then you get there, and they just keep shining. Might have to, hit a rut or go backwards for a minute, but it's 10 feet increments, if you will.
Yep, that's perfect. That describes it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's our honor to be companions, on that road. So, we work hard with the couples that come to us to help them feel like they're a full member of the team, right? We're all participants in collaborative practice. We sign the same agreement, and everybody is honored. But it's hard for us sometimes to get couples to really speak to their own needs, to find the confidence to feel like full members of the team. How did you find confidence to speak your truth and to find your own voice with your collaborative team?
Yeah, this one, immediately I think about the difference of collaborative versus a traditional divorce. The collaborative attorneys worked very well together. And I can honestly say that what helped me be able to speak up wasn't necessarily my own attorney. I mean, obviously, my attorney was amazing, but it was when the other attorney, my ex-husband's attorney, reached across the table and said, how do you feel? Those kinds of conversations opened up a different type of discussion that we were able to have, where I felt like that attorney also cared about me and wasn't trying to take me down. So in a traditional divorce, so it made the conversation a lot more comfortable to be able to speak up for the things that I wanted. And with our personal dynamics, it was very difficult at the time to really speak up, because I feared having things kind of going off the rails.
Yeah. I think those of us who are attorneys who love this work, it's really more of a systems approach to solving, a situation for the entire family, the children, both parents. And I think that we all just feel an intense curiosity about the family when we meet them, and I think you're right about that. I think we're always curious. I think curiosity for those of us who love this work is a big part of it. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Is something that we often like to say.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So your life went through a big professional change.
It did.
On the other side of the collaborative process, and I bet people would get a charge out of hearing you speak to that. What were you doing before you started with us, and how did you come to change your career after that?
Yeah. So I was an IT professional. I've been working in IT for many years. I was happily remarried, and we were both IT professionals and didn't want our eggs in the same basket anymore. So I really wanted to do something that was going to improve our life as a family. And I was either going to become a fitness coach, which that didn't work out, or I wanted to be a financial professional. And I thought that's going to help our family, but I can also help other people. And going back to that budget stuck with me all these years. And I wanted to go into the financial professional role and try to do something similar to what was done for me, and being able to give back to other people and work with people through the collaborative process to create budgets and give them the life that was given to me. So that was really important. So yeah, I found myself actually working for the CDFA, who helped me. So in full circle, she is now my mentor, my leader, and I get to work with all the great people, including the attorneys that guided us through the process.
So you became a collaborative team professional.
I did.
And you are part of the Collaborative Law Institute of Minnesota, and you are helping people with their budgeting and to get a path to a strong future.
Yep. And I absolutely love it. Yep. I wouldn't change a thing.
Jennifer, I know that you had a great idea for a question.
So how, one of the questions is, how do you ask for help when it's uncomfortable, or it's the uncertainty, and it, like you said, you had to ask for help, and that's hard to do on any situation, but when you're going through a divorce, you have to acknowledge you're going through a divorce with friends or family. So do you have any tips or advice? I guess, I don't know if tips is the right word, but how do you ask for help?
Ultimately, I had to make the decision to surrender and just let the attorneys take the reins and help walk me through the process. They're the experts. And so dropping the ego, just kind of leaning into them and letting them take the lead, and just being courageous enough to ask. And that's the biggest advice I would give. Just ask.
I think you put your finger on something really important, and we get a lot of training in collaborative practice, as you know now, about leaving our egos at the door and our own personal issues at the door, so that when we come into a meeting together, we are really focused on the family and in the moment and
The future.
yes, and the future.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's so important for all of us in this work to really set ego aside and to make sure that we are putting our priorities where they need to be.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
it is.
but it's really hard to do, but the outcome, by and large, is always to the benefit, where you couldn't even imagine that outcome when you started, where you can get and where you're at now with your new husband and your children. You couldn't even have imagined that but
Yeah.
it's a lot of work up front, but you can get there.
Yeah.
And you add it to your family.
We did. Yep. So, yep. So, yep, we have a third child. So he's a reminder every day that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And my husband was the least expected person to walk into my life at the time. So good things do come. Mm-hmm. Good things do come. And just remind yourself of that every day, that you won't see it now, but life does go on, and you're able to kind of recenter yourself, and good things do come.
It's so hard to go from a backward focus on what had not been working for the family to looking at what you have to work with that can be better, and looking into the future.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just so hard sometimes, and to have that that optimistic perspective, and the willingness to really develop a new vision for yourself and the family.
At Daisy Camp, we tell people divorce does not define you. If you make the right choices, it can expand your life moving forward.
It's profound.
Yep, absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
So I think there's one other question.
Okay, my
Great
last
question
question
you had.
is there anything you want to say that you may have left out? I'm sure there's a lot of things you'll think of later. but right now,
I would have to say, anyone that is starting a divorce or even in the middle of a divorce, and you're just reeling from it, you are so much stronger than you know you are. You truly are. And you just got to find that fire and just know that while you're going through this, things will get better. I'm a much stronger person as a result. I'm a lot more confident as a person as a result of this process. I've learned so many things about myself and about other people. I'm not the same person that I was when I started going through the divorce, and I think I'm a much better version of who I am, and you will be too. Yeah.
Käri, thank you so much for being here today, but also for everything that you have given to so many people. Certainly those of us who are professionals have really been blessed by your work with us, and so many couples and families have benefited from your hard work. And Jennifer, I can't imagine how many hundreds of people whose lives you have touched through Daisy Camp. Thank you for being here today, and thank you so much for your continuing work.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thank you to those who are listening today. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate your due diligence in thinking about your family and having a positive attitude about the future, and thinking about how everybody in your family can benefit from your hard work too. Thanks so much.